There was a time when the latest and greatest games were available only in arcades. From Pac-Man to Mortal Kombat to Crazy Taxi, gaming in the 1980s and 90s was defined by what happened in the arcades. But little by little, the arcade's importance diminished, and one by one, the arcades faded away. There's a good chance that if you were born after the year 2000, that you have never even been in an arcade. But that doesn't mean that you can't have an arcade for yourself, designed just the way you want it. And that's precisely what GameRoomSolutions provides. They have a huge number of different arcade cabinet designs, and you can pick exactly what you want. Starting with cabinet style, then screen size, and how many players, and how many buttons, and what type of buttons, and how many accessories you're looking for, everything is available to you with GameRoomSolutions. And if you've ever assembled IKEA furniture, you know exactly what to do in order to put together your arcade. All the pieces come labeled, and you just assemble the pieces like Legos, follow the instructions until you have a finished cabinet. Depending on what accessories you picked, the only thing you may need to provide is the screen. The optional gaming kit runs an X96 Air, which is pretty equivalent to a stock Raspberry Pi 4. The audio kit is good to 180 watts, and the buttons and controllers go together in a pretty straightforward, but it does take a while to install. If you don't want to do any of this stuff yourself, you actually can have it pre-wired from the factory. The optional coin door is functional, though you'll have to wire those in with splicers yourself. But once it's all done, it looks pretty professional. As I mentioned before, there aren't any games included with the GRS kits, but they do have the X96 Air as an option, which does play EmuElec, and a lot of games are included with that. Which games and what systems may vary over time, so this may not be a definitive list for everybody, but for the most part, it included a lot of 2D games, a few 3D arcade games, and just a few disc-based games for consoles, mostly sticking with older systems. Anything PlayStation generation and older on the consoles will run fine, and pretty much any 2D arcade game will play without any issues. There are some 3D arcade games that are included, and some of them do play fine, but more intensive games like Dead or Alive 2 struggle to maintain good frame rates. On a Raspberry Pi system, you would be able to overclock to get some better performance out of this, but in this case, the X96 Air doesn't support overclocking, at least the same way, so you won't be able to easily overclock this, and so kind of what you see is what you get in terms of performance. Still, there are a number of good games on here that play very well and are multiplayer, so you can get some good usage out of this machine. Obviously, I do love me some Neo-Geo, so we are going to be playing that a lot on here, but retro Capcom machines and other arcade cabinets also play very well here, as well as a lot of 2D NAOMI games, and even some of the more basic 3D ones. If there is a game that you want to play and is not included in this system, you can just transfer it over, and then you can have it match everything else by finding the file there and then scraping the data, and then that should make it appear more or less the same as everything else. Just know that just because you can add the game doesn't mean it will play very well on this system. Overall, the X96 Air is a decent option if you don't already have a Raspberry Pi 4 or an equivalent. I wouldn't probably choose this over Raspberry Pi 4 since you can get better performance normally by overclocking, but if you don't have one, this is a decent stand-in. Long term, I do plan on having this arcade dual boot into a PC and this X96 Air, so hopefully I'll get the best of both worlds, but that's in a different video. So if you are looking to buy an arcade, is this kit a good deal for you? And for the most part, I would say yes. If you are comfortable in building out an arcade unit, if you're comfortable building IKEA-style furniture, this is going to save you money, for one, because you don't have to pay for either shipping of a huge item. Shipping is free for GRS. And you don't need to pay for the assembly if you are okay doing it yourself, although you can bits and piece some of this stuff being assembled for you in the factory if you want to have them do the technical bits. But it could also save you time if you are going to buy a pre-built unit and there are some things that are already included that you don't really want, or if there are things you want to upgrade on the unit. Having a kit just opens up your ability to choose what monitor you want. You know what kind of games you want to play, so do you want 1080p? Do you want 720p? Do you want 4K like this one is? That is all up to you. Do you want graphics? Do you want the coin slot? Do you want light up buttons or not? Do you want extra speakers? Do you want all sorts of different things that you can add on to it? Things that really make this yours. But like good all IKEA furniture, there is some downsides of having a kit either shipped to you, you building yourself, and just in general having a kit. I did have a few pieces arrive damaged, which GameRoomSolutions promptly replaced all for me, but that is a little bit of the reality of working with kits. They may or may not arrive pristine. Another downside is that you will probably need to fiddle with this machine after it's installed in order to make it look its best. Like the plexiglass covering the marquee and the TV tend to bend a little bit, and so they do provide these bracers in order to fix that, and so you can kind of make everything straight, but that has to be done after it's already assembled, so it's a little bit more of a pain. So I haven't done it yet, so you can see, but that is something you'll probably want to do if you want it to look better. There are some places also where they didn't put any molding underneath, which does increase the likelihood of it being damaged, and I've already had a few chips already appear, so you'll want to probably add some, as well as probably have a black Sharpie handy so you can fill in any chips. And if you are a bit of a neat freak, then the plexiglass on top of the controls does get kind of grimy and covered in fingerprints very, very fast. I've wiped it several times, even during this video, and it gets covered really fast, so that is something to be aware of. But all that aside, this is a great arcade, and it's a great canvas for whatever games you want to play.